us to put our names in the chat?
I say once we start.
Okay, you guys, we are live. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. We're going to let a few people in, so bear with us. Make sure that you put your name in the chat as we move forward. You're going to make sure you put your full name and your company. Again, make sure that you're on mute, including my team, until we're ready to start. Okay. Again, make sure you're putting your name in the chat. Make sure you're muted. We're going to wait one more minute before we get started. Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody. Welcome to the Construction Management at Risk Services for AIS Capital Improvement Projects Pre-Submission Conference for February 25th, 2022. Again, put your name in the chat. Include your company name. If you have questions during the presentation, please put them in the chat. There will be a Q&A at the end. We're going to have a brief agenda today. We're going to do welcome introductions. We're going to do procurement timeline and instructions. We'll go over some RFP highlights, which includes the evaluation criteria. And we will also go over the 4 projects that we have in this package. My name is Lori Lipson. I am with the PBC, and I'm going to turn it over to Ray to introduce his team.
Good morning. Thank you, Lori. My name is Ray Gitteroff, Chief Development Officer at the Public Building Commission. Our Deputy Managing Architect will introduce ourselves, followed by our project managers. So Beth, if you wouldn't mind.
Good morning. This is Beth Scanlon from the PBC. Desmond?
Desmond?
Good morning. Desmond Truitt, Project Manager, PBC.
John? John, you're on mute. If you can introduce yourself.
Go ahead.
Good morning, this is John Leonard with the Public Building Commission.
Great. Dennis?
Joplin, Public Building Commission.
Thank you. Hey, Lori?
Okay, thank you. I will introduce the teams that are online a little bit later, once everybody puts their name in the chat. I want to start off and talk a little bit about why we're doing this procurement. We are, as you know, had a different package out last week, and we appreciate those who attended our site visit walkthroughs as well. We're interested for these 4 projects to be a construction manager for 4 projects. We are anticipating the construction manager be a team player with us for pre-construction services, project management, planning, document management, project warranty commissioning, and all these things we will be working in tandem with the AOR and EOR of the respective projects to make sure that we have a successful completion. The most important thing that the CM will be undertaking is to make sure that they have a solid trade contract award and management program. You're going to work with the PBC to bid out some packages in the program. We're going to make sure that the schedule, your MBE, WBE participation is maximized, and we want to ensure that Chicagoans especially get back to work. So all those things are very important, and those are things that should be highlighted in your RFP submission for the team. I'm going to turn it over to Patty to really go over those key details for the procurement.
Good morning. As Lori said, my name is Patty. I'm Patricia Montenegro with the Public Building Commission of Chicago. We will begin with the procurement details, beginning with the document availability. It is currently on our current opportunities page. The link is provided there on the screen. And once you go into the page, you will find it under at the area in the circle. Requests for information should be submitted to my attention at patricia.montenegro@cityofchicago.org. I am the sole point of contact for this procurement, so please ensure that you submit your questions directly to my attention. Addendums, well, questions will then be answered in the form of an addendum, and addendums will be posted to our website on that current opportunities page. To date, there are no current addendas for this project. The timeline for this procurement, as we know, the RFP has been released and we are at the pre-submission conference. The site visit for the Lakeview Health Center is scheduled for next week, Tuesday, March 1st at 10 a.m. And then we have another site visit for the MPV buildings, buildings B, C, and F on Friday at 10 a.m. We'll go into a little bit more detail about that in a few minutes. Questions deadline is Tuesday, March 15th at 4 p.m. And then submissions are due March 24th at 11 a.m. Interviews are then scheduled between March 28th and April 6th. And we do intend to submit the recommendation to the PBC board at our April Board of Commissioners meeting. Okay, so all the site visit details you should have already, but we want to emphasize that proper PPE gear is to be worn when we meet at the site visits. And for the Lakeview Health Center, it is 2849 through 61 North Clark Street. So the buildings are all together, but we're going to meet at the front of the building at the main entrance. For the North Park Village on Friday, the address of 5801 North Pulaski is located somewhere below the buildings. So we want to make sure that you do not go directly to the 5801 North Pulaski Road building, but that you then off of Pulaski Road, you'll find Ardmore. There is a visitor parking lot there to the south. And then the meetings that we will be visiting, the gym, the admin building, and the chapel are all there above where Lori is pointing at. And we're going to be meeting in front of the gymnasium. Again, proper PPE is to be worn at the facilities. Also on our website, you can find the PBC assist agencies and submission requirements. I apologize, I have to move this little box over. So it's one electronic submission, again, like our previous package. And we're going to ask that you organize it in the submission checklist order that's available on the RFP. Again, it should be a single searchable PDF of your entire submission. If you aren't clear as to what that is, please submit an RFI and I'll be glad to explain that. Your submission should be labeled as you see on the screen. It's also available in the RFP document, so please ensure that your PDF is labeled as such, and that your email subject line when you're submitting your submission is labeled as such, response to the RFP. And then we want to make sure that your financials are included. Also in the RFP, you'll find the checklist. So we would kindly ask that you please submit it in this order. It's very important when the evaluation team is reviewing your submission that they find your documents in the appropriate tabs. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Patty. So I'm going to go over a couple of the key things that you need to make sure is in your RFP. I know some of the firms that are on the line are going to respond to multiple CM packages, but you want to make sure that this particular package is the green theme. You want to make sure you have your contact information, your cover letter, and your table of contents. We're going to go over briefly all the forms that you need to fill out. Also, there's some exhibits that you need to make sure you familiarize yourself with, along with the project description where the development team will go over. You want to make sure, again, that you fill out the forms correctly. All of the firms that have been participating in our RFP and procurement process are technically competent and they have the past performance. You want to make sure that you try to submit samples that represent projects that are closely related to the ones that we are going to show you in the site visit and later on in the presentation. Make sure that you put in those projects within 5 years that have renovation experience. Make sure you put in all the information that we require. We want to make sure that these projects were either by standard plan review, what things that you learn, were there benchmarking, value add. You want to make sure you keep that in mind when you're submitting. You want to make sure also that you have your key staff and organizational chart available and ready. You want to make sure that those bios or resumes are not more than 2 pages. Our evaluation team will not read the 3rd page, so make sure you do that as well. Make sure that you have the appropriate team members sign, and you're going to make sure that you keep up with our alerts and our website to ensure that you have all the addendums. One of the significant portions of the RFP is to ensure that we have the correct team working with us, and that's where your project approach comes in. You want to demonstrate what you're going to do during your pre-construction services, how you plan to bid those trade contractors, and then how you're going to monitor construction. So you want to make sure you take time to do that. And that project approach should be different for each facility. And especially for those who came to our last walkthrough, how important that's going to be. We also want to ensure that you have your MBE and WBE history. We want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. Again, make sure that you have the correct information, especially if you're using a PVC project. Our compliance team especially thinks it's interesting when people have different actuals than we have, and your score will reflect accordingly. So make sure that your actuals aren't inflated and they have the appropriate information. For the packages, which are 4 different projects, they all have a compliance MBE goal of 26%. So you want to make sure you take a look at that and include part of your strategy in your project approach. Again, it's 50% community, City of Chicago residency, 7.5% for community hiring. There's a map coming up, and we will work together on these intake sessions. I included an updated map. We will also make sure that we include that in an upcoming addendum to make sure you have it in 2 forms. But this is the community area. Since we're doing 2 locations, we're going to include all of these communities to ensure that we hit that 7.5%. So that's something you want to talk about probably in your project approach. Again, for this, we are anticipating that we have minority journey workers, laborers, apprentice, the same for female journey workers, laborers, and apprentice. And those contract provisions will be included in the CM's contract. I know many of you plan on forming joint ventures for this project. If you do so, please make sure you fill out Schedule B, that is Form D, which is a little confusing, but you're going to fill out the affidavit, and you're also going to make sure you include the agreement. Especially when we have the interviews, we're going to make sure that we ask those detailed questions about which firm will be doing what. If part of your team member is an MBE or WBE, you want to make sure you include their certification as well. There's additional forms you want to fill out. Make sure you do so, your disclosure affidavit, disclosure of retained parties, and your affidavit of non-collusion for these projects. A little different because we won't have a payment and performance bond at the beginning of the project. You're going to make sure that you have the capacity to do so insurance-wise. So you're going to make sure you include your capacity, your insurance, and you're going to make sure you get something from your bonding company that says, yes, I can bond this amount of work. The PBC is keen on ensuring that our safety comes first. You're going to make sure you fill out Form H completely. The difference that you'll see that we've added from previous years, obviously, are the COVID protocols. You want to make sure that you include that. A lot of us have been working, obviously, through the pandemic for the last 2 years. We want to make sure that we have some lesson learned and those protocols that can deal with the fluctuations of potential variants. And we want to make sure that we keep our team safe. You also want to include your QA/QC plan and a sample project schedule. A clue for this is to make sure that your project schedule is not over scheduled for the project sample that you submit. That would hinder your score. You're also going to make sure that you turn in your legal forms and your legal actions. You're going to fill those out completely. As you know, we have packages that are going to our April board, and we will not have time to go back and forth. So you want to make sure that if you have to provide an explanation, you do so at submission time. Also, make sure you turn in those 3 references. Do not include anyone who is currently at the Public Building Commission. So make sure you have those references, and make sure your references will give you a good reference. There are 4 cost forms in this procurement. You will have to fill out all 4 of them. Make sure that the key thing we're looking for is line 4, which is the construction manager's fee. So again, you're going to fill out Lakeview Health Center. You're going to fill out the MPV gym, the administration building, and the chapel. You're going to include all 4 of those cost forms for your information. And as Patty stated earlier, you're going to make sure you include those financial statements so we can make sure that you have the capacity to support this project. When submitting, these are the key elements that I would make sure that you have locked down. Again, the technical competence and past performance. That's why those previous projects are important. Your project approach and methodology. Again, if you turn in something blanket and really don't take in account for the 4 projects, that might be an issue for you, and it's a highly weighted percentage for that. And of course, your price in your MBE, WBE past participation. These are the key things that we'll be looking for. We will also, when we have interviews, if we choose to do so, we will probably focus on the top 4 items as well. So I want everyone to be prepared to do so. So please remember, we've had a couple of incidents. Make sure the sole point of contact for any of our RFPs for construction management go to Patty Montenegro. Her email is on the screen. And I am going to turn it over to the development team to go over these exciting 4 projects.
Thank you, Lori. I'm going to pause for 1 second. Our partners from AIS, I believe, Francis, you're on the call. If you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Francis Rovituso Strange, coordinating architect for AIS AEC Bureau.
Thank you, Francis, and welcome. And then, Lori, I want to take a minute to introduce the engineer of record that's responsible for the Lakeview project, and then the architect of record that's responsible for the NPV projects. So HOH that's responsible for Lakeview, could you introduce yourselves?
Morning, this is Valdir Usquiano. I'm on behalf of HOH. The project architect is Johnny Bueno. And you know, I'm gonna submit all the notes that I have for this meeting to him. But he's in a meeting in this moment, and once he's done, he's gonna be able to join us.
Okay, thank you very much. And then co-architects, could you introduce yourselves?
Sure. This is Dan Rappel. I'm a principal with COO Architecture. We're the AORs for the North Park Village projects, the 3 buildings there.
Thank you both. And Francis, thank you as well. First and foremost, we appreciate the opportunity that AIS has given us to work with it on this incredible program to enhance, upgrade, renovate these important city assets. So Francis, thank you very much to you and your commissioner and the deputy commissioner for allowing us to be part of this. With regard to the program overview, and Beth Scanlon, the deputy managing architect, will get into the details related to the project descriptions, and then the project managers will talk about the scope details within each facility. Just a quick overview. As I said, this is an important program for the city, for AIS and PBC. There are a lot of assets that AIS manages, and they've asked us to participate in that enhancement, upgrade, and renovation of all of that work. There is a lot of flexibility here. Our engineers, our architects, AIS, and our staff have been working collaboratively, extensively on identifying the potential program that is supported by scope and cost estimates that were included in the RFP. The CM's role, as Lori alluded to several times, that collaboration, that design assist, that input to help further reconcile program, confirm cost, supported by the input that we get from the CM and its trades, is going to be a vital part of our success. As Lori stated earlier, really consider the level of effort that's going to be required from you as part of your approach and your strategy. You're competing for this work with everybody else on this phone call and those that are going to participate on the walkthroughs. And Lori, I just wanted to say thank you to you and the team and AIS, because I think the recent walkthroughs that we had were vital to understanding the overall program and scope and some of the constraints and limitations and flexibility that may be there in those facilities that we recently walked. So to those of you that walked with us recently, and hopefully those of you that are going to walk with us here coming up shortly, we couldn't encourage that more. It's an incredible learning experience to understand the physical constraints at these projects. In some cases, as Beth and PMs are going to talk about, the spaces are occupied. So our understanding of your commitment to working safely and efficiently is going to go a long way. So that's the brief project overview. Beth, I'm going to turn it over to you, if you wouldn't mind walking through the project descriptions for each project, and then the PMs will support that effort with regard to the specific scope. Beth?
Thanks, Ray. Let's see. This is the site plan of the campus for the first three projects. The North Park Village was originally built for a tuberculosis medical center for that population in the early 20th century, i.e. 1915, 1920, in that range. The entire campus has been listed in the landmarks, the Commission on Landmarks Historic Resources Survey. And so the entire campus, any of the scope that we are doing there would be reviewed by landmarks for that scope. Generally, landmarks is not concerned about interiors of these buildings, but would be concerned about work that is occurring on the exterior. So we have taken that into consideration as we've been looking at the scopes for these various buildings. As you can see here, we've got 3 locations on this campus that we are currently working on. And we have highlighted where the parking is. Patty went over that earlier. And so this parking is the closest area to the entrance to the campus, and will then meet at the first building, which is the gymnasium for the on-site tour. After the gymnasium, we will go over to the administration building, which is the Green Star, which is just simply across the park driveway there. And then we will go over to the chapel, which is the Red Star. So next slide. You will have all have seen this as part of the package for the procurement, and we will review what is included in here as part of this presentation. As I said, these buildings are all part of a campus. They were built in the late 19-teens, early 1920s. They all have their masonry buildings. The gymnasium specifically was originally built as either the field house or the auditorium building. But you can see from the interior spaces that it has a large open space on the first floor and then has a second floor space over a portion of it. We are looking, and the space is being used as a gym, and the intention is to continue using it as a gym. There is a basement level as well as a small mechanical space on an upper level that leads directly to the roof. And as I said, it's a gymnasium and it is in active use, and we are anticipating that it will continue to be in active use. The scope that intended here is to address code issues as well as to provide upgrades for systems that are past their lifespan. And so there is some mechanical work associated, there's some roof work associated, and there are interior upgrades as part of this scope of work. And from there, I'm going to turn it over to Desmond for more specifics on what the scope of work will include.
Thank you, Beth. The scope of work, starting with the replacement of the existing roof, which is about 8,000 square feet of modified bitumen roofing material. That includes the replacement of the roof membrane along with the insulation. There's also a new roof hatch being installed. The waterproofing upgrades and foundation walls, concrete slabs. That work is intermittent throughout the lower levels. There is a new boiler system scheduled for installation. The replacement of existing site concrete at the main entryway, along with new main entry doors for ADA upgrades. And then there is new LED lighting throughout to comply with the energy codes.
Okay, what you are seeing here on the screen is a bubble diagram of the layout of the facility. We have assessments that have been completed for each one of these buildings, and to give the scope of work. The construction documents will be starting shortly for each one of these projects. And so the CM input for the pre-construction value will be important as we are selecting the CM. So because we are just starting the construction documents on these projects. Next. This is showing the condition of this building, some of the site photos. You can see the front entrance to the building. It is a fairly formal entrance, and the character of that is important. The specific doors that are included in this entrance, however, are not in good shape and do not meet current ADA requirements, hence why that is included in part of the scope here. You can see some of the conditions on the right-hand side that we see need to be addressed as part of this building. And you, in the interior view, in the center lower section here, is indicating the lights that are installed here are several decades old and are not providing a pleasant atmosphere in the interior and take a significant amount of time to warm up before they come on. So that's the existing conditions. You will be able to see more about what is going on here when we do the walkthrough. Okay, next slide. We have included the current cost estimate within the RFP packages. The budgets that we are indicating here, or the cost estimates that we are indicating here, are within the budget for the 3 buildings. There's some adjustment between the 3 projects with their specific cost estimates, but the cost estimates are reflected of the work that we are looking to complete on each one of these projects. The next building that we have got here is the administration building, which will be the second one we will tour. This is, again, it's part of the campus. It was built as an office building. It is a masonry building with 2 stories plus the basement. The roof is one of the issues on this building, and it is a clay tile roof, the original roof to the building. And the intention here is that the tiles would be salvaged wherever possible, or they need to be replaced in kind. We are fully aware of the impact that has to both project schedule and scope and budget. And it will be something that we are looking for the input of the CM to manage those requirements. Again, what we are dealing with here is addressing life safety issues, code issues, as well as the maintenance issues of systems that have gone past their lifespan. Desmond, the specifics on the scope, please.
Yes, thanks, Beth. Scope of work for this building is primarily based around the envelope and eliminating the water infiltration from the roof level to the masonry to the foundation. Starting at the top, the repair, salvage, and replacement of plate tile roof and underlayment. As Beth stated, we'll rely heavily on the CM to assist us with ensuring that we can get replace the roof in time. The waterproofing upgrades at the foundation, windows, and storefronts. Masonry tuck pointing, replacement of damaged brick masonry around the window.
Hey, Desmond, this is Ray. I apologize for interrupting you. There's something happening with your microphone. You're very faint as you're speaking there.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Better.
Okay, thank you. Should I go back, Ray? I'm sorry. When did it start?
Why don't you keep going, and then we'll see if there are any questions.
Okay. So we have the masonry tuck pointing throughout the facade of the building in different areas. Replacement of damaged brick masonry associated with that tuck pointing. And we have lintel replacement around windows and doors. Interior finish upgrades include plaster repair, drywall repairs, painting and flooring. And then as part of this package, we also have included the lighting for campus signage with lighting.
This is an occupied building. As I said, it is the administration building. It has offices associated with that. And so the consideration of working in a structure that is currently occupied will be part of the requirements. As we said before, the roof is a critical feature to this project. Again, we have the assessment of the structure and are in the process of just starting the construction documents, similar to the other project with this one as well. We've got photos of the interior condition. You can see some of the masonry work that is involved, as well as some of the interior water damage that needs to be addressed as part of this project. Next. This is, again, giving you a sense of what's going on with the roof of this building. And we have the cost estimate as part of the package, which again is been associated with the assessment, and the cost estimate does align with the intended scope. The third project that we've got at our campus is the chapel. This one is a little bit different. It is built, again, it is a masonry building of the same age, same design style as the other buildings we have talked about. The difference here is that it is not occupied. This building is not currently in use. That is primarily due to the condition of the existing building. You will see when you make the tour that this building is unoccupied for a reason. it's not, the interiors of it have significant damage in terms of water damage that has come through into the building. And so that is part of the scope that we are addressing. Dennis, Desmond, would you go through the specific scope, please?
Sure. Similar to the administration building, C, this scope is heavily based around the envelope and mitigating the water infiltration from the roof, facade, and foundation. So we do have repair, salvage, replacement of clay tile roof and underlayment in the scope, waterproofing upgrades, foundation wall and concrete slabs, masonry tuck pointing and replacement of damaged brick, replace gutters and downspouts in kind, window replacement as well with lighting control upgrades and interior finishes upgrades associated with the this been as a result of the water damage.
Okay, similar to the other two, we have the assessment on this project and we are beginning the construction documents. Other things I would like to mention that do apply to all three projects. We are anticipating that the permitting for this project will be a self-cert permit. And so that, if you are familiar with that, the permitting process is a shorter time frame because Department of Buildings does not review the drawings themselves. They are simply reviewing the administrative aspects of it and the contractor's licensing. And so to apply for the permit, we need to know the contractors and all the subcontractors to apply for the permit, but the application process is significantly shorter than it would be for the other permitting processes. We do know that there are environmental issues that will need to be addressed with each of these projects. The expectation is that there will be a report that will provide testing for lead-based paint and asbestos containing materials, but the CM will be responsible for actually addressing those conditions. The schedule on these, again, for all three of these projects, is the expectation is that we are permitting the process in second quarter, and we will have the construction completed before the end of this year. So that's the overview on those elements. You can see from the condition photos here that we, again, it is having a clay tile roof that is not in good shape and expected to be restored. Salvage what is possible, replacement in kind if new tiles are required. And the interior photos here give you a sense of what is going on in the interior of this building. The bottom center photo there, you can see somebody has attempted to put up like a plastic curtain to contain the plaster that is falling on the interior of the building. It will be important to see the conditions for yourself of this building, given that there is significant water damage on the interior of this building. And the interiors of that building are actually fairly special. There is some thought given to the original design of the building. So again, the cost estimate is included in the package and aligns with the scope that we are intending to have happen here. Okay, the next project on our list, the fourth project, is in a different location. And as Patty was describing earlier, we will do the site walkthrough on this one at a separate day simply because the two sites are enough far apart from each other that it seemed to make more sense to have the walkthrough on a separate day. The star is indicating where the building is located, and we would simply meet at the front door of the building. The project here is again addressing it. This is a two-story building, masonry construction. It has a basement included as part of it. There is occupancy by both the city of Chicago as well as some tenants that are in the structure as well. We are addressing the exterior envelope issues as well as some ADA issues, and working within the spaces that are occupied by the city of Chicago, not particularly the tenant spaces. Desmond?
Thanks, Beth. The scope here at Lakeview Health Center includes a replacement of an existing modified bitumen roof. At a portion of the roof, this building actually has an addition at the back of it that is not a part of the contract. But there is the main building is a two-story building at the front. And so that's where the roof work will take place. Fire life safety systems and fire alarm system package is included in this scope of work. New ADA compliant toilet upgrades, replacement of interior finishes, replacement of interior and exterior doors, replacement of roof and exterior finishes, and with the inclusion of a new BAS system. Can you scroll up a little bit? I'm having trouble seeing the bottom portion of the page.
The providing of the BAS system was at the end.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the last item.
Sure.
Okay, this is just to give you a sense of the building. This is simply the first floor plan and what we will be working in. The construction documents on this project are further along. They are between 50–60% into there of completion. So again, we would be looking for participation by the CM as we are finalizing these construction documents. The building itself is occupied, and that will need to be coordinated. And we are anticipating that there will be other construction projects during the time that this construction will be occurring. We are looking for permitting to occur in the second quarter of this year and construction to be completed by the end of this year. A similar concept in that we will have environmental testing completed, but we'll be expecting the CM to actually provide the necessary scope for the abatement that would be necessary for the work. We're not abating the entire building. It is only where the work is occurring that we would be looking for that. Okay, here we've got some condition photos of the scope that we're addressing. Both the roof work as well as the stairways and some of the bathroom upgrades that are required. And again, we have an estimate that is included that includes the cost estimate is coming in within the expected parameters for the intended scope.
Thanks, Beth. I want to remind everyone again to make sure that you're signed up for the alerts. Again, the PBC is not obligated to send out alerts every time we send out an addendum, but we try to do so. Because of the weather is unpredictable, make sure you keep an eye out. Hopefully there's not another winter storm coming for next week's walkthrough. So again, make sure you keep up with the alerts. And reminding everyone, Patty is the sole point of contact. If you have any questions, it would be inappropriate to talk to development staff, the architect, or AIS. Make sure you contact procurement. So I am going to open up the floor for questions. The first thing I am going to do is have an opportunity and make sure that I have all the firms represented. We have, of course, HOH and COO, who are our architect and engineer records for our project. We have Berglund, IHC, All Construction, Spantech, Millhouse, Enviro Plus, BOA, John Burns, and Burling Builders. Did I miss any contractors on the line? Okay. If not, I'm going to check the chat. I don't think there are any questions, but if you would like to unmute yourself, please do so at this time. If you have any questions, concerns. Okay, that means we did an excellent job. So there's no question. I do want to remind everyone that we are in the midst of having multiple projects for multiple packages. You want to ensure that you continue to look out. There will probably be another package on the horizon that you want to make sure that you keep abreast with. Also, you want to make sure that you're responding to the appropriate documentation for the team to look at. So with that, if there aren't any questions, I'm going to remind everyone that everyone on the list that I named earlier is capable of doing this work, but we want to make sure that you set yourself apart. Part of that is going to be your project approach. The other part is going to be your price. So make sure that you take in consideration for that, and make sure that you're available for interviews as well. Okay. Well, with that said, we're going to conclude this pre-submission conference. Thank you again. The presentation will be on the website by the end of the day, and the video may be on the website by the end of the day or Monday at the latest. Thank you again, and we appreciate you attending.